Hey everybody, welcome to Video Game Corner. It's me, Jason. And yesterday Freddie and I went to the swap meet with my girlfriend Desiree. I think the swap meet has officially lost its mind. We actually went to two different swap meets. We went to the one up in Selma, California, and then we hit the one in Visalia, California. And in the past, I've gotten such good deals there and found so many games that it was unreal. I found my Earthbound at the Selma one for $6, and it was like, wow. And then I also found a Castlevania there for $5. I found a Super Metroid there for $12. I mean, I found some decent deals over the years, and I always come home with bags of games and, spend about $50 from the two swap meets. Visalia and I don't know what's going on. And I think, there's a lot of buzz around YouTube that I keep seeing is that everyone says people selling games now are just going crazy and getting ridiculous with it. And a lot of collectors, like Gamester81's one of them, he's not collecting Nintendo, and other guys are just saying screw it and not buying them. Let me start out by showing you what I did get. I got a copy of Fable for the Xbox. I don't have the first one. I have number 3, so I'm trying to get into the Fable stuff and give it a try. So I got a copy of Fable. I got it for $4, and then I got this copy, and I've never seen this version. I don't know if it's some sort of special edition or whatever. I don't see anything on here, but what it is it's a copy of Metal Gear Solid, but it's in like a PlayStation case. Now I'm wondering, because it has the big manual, I'm wondering if this was like a copy of like a long box version. I don't know, did Metal Gear Solid have a long box version? And they just put it in like a PS2 case. I'm not really sure. The thing is that the case is, the games are in beautiful condition, and it's the actual PS1 copy, 1998. So, and it's got the manual, and then it's got the artwork, but the artwork seems like it's real, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If you guys I haven't bothered to look it up yet. If you guys have seen something like this, let me know. It also might be like a foreign version, but everything's in English, so it might be England or Australia. But it doesn't, I haven't tried it out. Well, it's NTSC, well, it says NTSC on there. It says NTSC on the discs. So I don't know, because that would be here. Because otherwise it would be PAL. I don't know. So let me know if you guys see this, and I'll also look it up. I also went over to GameStop the other day, and I bought White Knight Chronicles, which seemed like a fun, it's like a semi-turn-based RPG. I wanted to give it a try. Everybody said, and the guy Lee that runs the GameStop down there in my town, he was saying you got to get number 2, and it has number 1 with it, but they didn't have a copy. He checked for me. So, and then on my PlayStation 3 recently, they had some sales going, and I bought Dragon Age Origins and Ni no Kuni. So, I've been playing Dragon Age Origins a bit. I like it. I haven't played Ni no Kuni yet. I know I played the demo for Ni no Kuni and hated it, but Robert Santellin, who I was doing the podcast with, which we're going to be doing the podcast pretty soon here, me and another friend of mine, he swears that it's a good game and that the demo was crap. So, we'll see. We'll just see. I mean, for $4.99, I can't shake a stick at it, so it's a pretty good deal. So, but yeah, I mean, it's I'm at the swap meet, and we're looking for stuff. I didn't find anything at the Selma, and then at the Visalia, I bought those 2 games. I bought the Metal Gear and the Fable. I mean, they're asking for like $15 for games that are worth like $5, and they're not even nice copies. Like the game itself, the disc will be all right, but the case is trashed. It's full of dirt. It looks like it's something that's been sitting outside. I pick up these other games, and they're hot as hell because they're out in the sun. They don't even have them covered, and they're wanting $10, $15 for these things. And I'm like, are you crazy? One guy had a game, he asked $10. I said, would you take 8? He says, no. And I'm like, why are you even out here at the swap meet? I mean, that's the whole point. You're supposed to be here making deals. If you want 10 for it, ask for 12 or 13. and then take 10. I mean, don't make yourself look like a douche. I don't even buy from people that won't negotiate. They just sit there and just say no. And there are always these people who you can tell they aren't gamers. They're some old guy or old woman. And it's so heartbreaking because they are making it worse. But I was thinking, I remember back in the 90s, for those of you who remember the early 90s and were in the comic book scene, Image and Valiant comics were the new big boys on the block. And everybody was buying Image and Valiant. And Valiant, Image, and Valiant, I think, was an awesome company and they had great stories. Image, I don't think much of. But there were people who were buying so many comics. They would say, I worked in a comic shop when I was in high school, back in the early 90s, back in 93, 94. And we would have these club accounts where people would come in, they'd order so many books every month, and we'd order them and save them every month, give them like 15% off. And you'd have people say, I want every Image title. Because they got it in their head, because some comics were worth money, they figured that if they bought all these Image comics, because Image had the awesome artwork, and if they bought all these Image comics, they were going to be able to send their kids to college on this money. And how wrong they were, because all that stuff now is worthless. When I had my comic shop about 6 years ago, I sold it. I was selling that stuff for 50 cents, and I couldn't give it away. And because it's just not worth anything. And it's funny because they had all these special covers embossed and holofoil and all these things, and the thing is so what? People thought that was special. Everybody buy an issue number 1 of everything, even though what people not in comics don't understand, issue 2 is always worth more. Why, you ask? Because what happens is everybody orders number 1, so they have a number 1, but nobody orders number 2. So number 2 has a lower print run. Or people aren't sure about a series. They'll read number 1 and then they aren't sure if they want number 2 or not. So number 2 is always lower. Then number 3, 4, and on levels out. But number 2 is always the low print run. That's the way it was back in the late 80s when the Ninja Turtle comics came out. Number 1 was worth, if I remember correctly, number 1 was worth like $20 or $30, and then number 2 was worth like $125. And then number 3 dropped back down. It was really funny. But everybody has to get that issue 1. Issue 1 only means more back in the 60s. Maybe the early 70s, maybe, and it depends. And the 50s, 60s, you have an issue 1. The 30s, you have an issue 1 of something. It might be worth something, depending on what it is. I've seen some old Archie comics from the 50s that are worth $9. I mean, it's just how it goes. It has to do with if it's something. I mean, you got a first Action Comics, first Superman. Yeah, you have something that's worth money, even if it's trashed. But yeah, people are funny. And I think that's what's happening now. And the same thing with like sports cards back then. Everybody was getting into sports cards. Their value went up, and it got so flooded and so everything that people stop buying them. And I think what's happening now, and it's going to be a similar situation. Granted, they aren't going to make more retro games, okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I think is going to happen is, being that we have a trend starting where everybody is saying, screw it, I'm not buying games because they're too much money and it's not worth it. I think what's going to happen is these sellers are finally going to realize that they can't sell these games for all this money, and the prices are going to gradually come back down. And I don't think it's going to go back to where, back to the days when everything was $1. But I think it's going to go back to where it's reasonable. And I could be wrong, but that's my opinion on it. And I've seen it. I mean, it's happened in comics. It's happened in sports cards. I'm sure it's happened in other hobbies. But yeah, in the collectibles market, in the collectibles hobby, you get, that happens, because you collect all this stuff, and then if it catches on, like retro games have caught on in the last 10 years, whatever, you're not going to find games cheap anymore for a while. But as you stop, and the only thing you can do is stop paying the prices and say, I'm not going to buy it from you. because I think a lot of collectors are worried that the prices are just going to keep going up and not going to stop. And I don't think that's true. I mean, the prime example is Earthbound. When I bought it, the day I bought it at the swap meet, it was selling on eBay for $300. Complete and box copies were selling for $700 because I remember watching an auction end at $700. And now Earthbound goes for $125, $150, maybe $175, $200 tops, and you don't have to pay that. So it goes to show that, and that's because they brought it out on Virtual Console, and it's like a specialty game because it was one of those games that, because it's so popular and so hard to find, not really hard to find, but it's got a high demand. Because it's you go on eBay and it's not rare. There's 15 copies on there easily, but they're all, it's high demand. It's not common game, but it's not a rare game. Like a Little Samson would be. That's rare because you don't see a whole lot of copies of it. Or as rare. Or if you see some of the rare, like there's this Atari game like Chuck's Stage Wagon or something. It's basically it was a promotional giveaway. Chuck Wagon. It's basically like it was a dog food thing, I think, by Purina. They made the game and it was a giveaway. That's rare, but it's still that game's only like $100 and something, so it's all about demand. But I think what it is these swap meet sellers are getting in their head that people are going to keep paying more, and when a guy like me goes in and I refuse to pay the ridiculous prices, because a lot of these sellers were selling stuff that was more than GameStop, and I'm like, GameStop. Not that GameStop's really expensive. I think they're actually decently priced for their used games. But when you're selling, crappy PS2 games trying to get $10 and GameStop's selling it for $1 in their bargain bin because they're trying to get rid of it, and it's guaranteed to work, or I can get my money back, and these fools up at the swap meet, I'm not going to drive all the way out there to take the game back to some fool that may or may not give me my money back. And they don't, I don't know, they just don't seem to get it. And it's never the collector sellers that you find. They never do that. It's always the old grandparent type sellers who can't speak English on top of that, which is frustrating. But I always have Freddie with me. He can always translate, but they understand $10, $8. They understand that, and they know how to say no real quick. And instead of negotiating, they just say no. And I don't get that at the swap meet anyway. But prices at the swap meet are getting to be ridiculous. I used to go there a year ago and buy stuff for, I'd come out with bags of stuff for $50. Freddie and I, it was our favorite thing to go buy games. And now, the last 2 times we went, nothing. We can't find anything. It's like scraping the bottom of the barrel, and then we see sports, because all these guys are picked clean. And I also have this other little funny theory that they don't want to deal with you, because if they actually sold all their stuff, they'd have to go find more, and then they'd have no reason to go sit out at the swap meet. I know it's anti-productive thinking, but that's a theory of mine. I don't know how true it is, but I think deep down they don't want to have to go work. Maybe they're just lazy people, too. And that's why they're overcharging, because they don't want to have to sell everything. Because if they sold it, they'd have to actually go get more stuff or not get to go out to the swap meet and not make any money. And it's funny, because all these booths that do this, there's not a soul there. There's this place down in Bakersfield, California, and it's this big, long gaming tape. It's like tape. They have like 2 or 3 booths. And it's this big, long table, and there's like probably 1,000 games in there. They probably have 100, 200 systems, maybe about 100 systems, different systems, all wrapped up in plastic. And there's never anyone in there. And then you look at their prices, and you know why. And it's like, guys, this is a swap meet. This is not, this is not a store. This is not a real store. You can't charge the same thing. This is not eBay. And people, they don't seem to get that. If they're looking at eBay and they don't understand that you look at the sold listings as opposed to the listed listings of people that are charging too much that don't ever sell it, they're looking at that and they're charging based on that. And you can see it in the price. And you're just like, how can you be that stupid? And you ask yourself, how can someone be that dumb? But they are. And it's so simple to like the rest of us. We get it. And I don't know. And what do you really say to them? You can make smart-ass comments like I do sometimes, but it doesn't change anything. But kind of makes me feel better. But I did see that one old lady that was walking by, and she was walking. We had to go to the restrooms, and the lady that was trying to rip me, that wouldn't take $8 on it. Oh no, she was trying to charge $10 on like a $3 game. And I walked by, and as she was walking by, I said really loud to Freddie, I said, I don't know what it is about today, but every video game seller I've run into is just a scumbag that's overcharging. Freddie was kind of laughing, and I don't even think the lady heard me. I probably shouldn't have said that. I should probably take the high road, but sometimes you get sick and tired of taking the high road all the time, because, it always seems like you're always getting screwed over. But I don't know. That's all I know is I don't know. So, but anyway, guys, tell me about your recent swap meet experience. Tell me about your old swap meet experiences. Let's talk about the good old days of a year ago. And but anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. There wasn't, it's really depressing, and you get to where you don't want to go anymore. And you know that if you don't go, there is always going to be that one guy that'll sell stuff for a good price. And if you miss it, then, but you don't know you're missing it, but your imagination gets the best of you. Yeah, we aren't going to go as much, I'm sure, but we'll probably go again in a month or so. We used to go like every week and pick different swap meets, because there's like tons of swap meets out here. And every time when we've been switching around, every time we go, it's nothing, just nothing. And it's depressing because you want to find something. I don't even see stuff that I own, that I already own, that I can sit there and say, oh, I already got that. It's just, I see all this sports titles. It's either sports or it's overpriced. So, I don't know. If anybody has a Skyrim Legendary Edition, I'll trade you a repro for it, by the way. Or a Dragon Age, I'm also looking for Dragon Age 2. I'm not going to trade a repro for that because it's not worth it, but unless you guys want to do a partial trade, partial cash, or if you just want to sell it to me, I'm not going to pay an arm and a leg for it, that's for sure. But I am looking for the Skyrim Legendary Edition because I want to get all the DLC. I got the Hearthstone one where you can build a house. I think that's pretty fun. And I just have a regular copy I found at a yard sale. Oh yeah, Freddie and I went to yard sales the other day, on Saturday. Couldn't find anything. We just have a town that yard sales for games suck. So I found a couple of I did find a couple pots and pans the other day. Or actually that was the other day at this one thrift shop. So that's when we ended up just going to GameStop because we had my daughter with us and it was starting to get hot. And I promised I'd buy her a game at GameStop. So she's 9 and she wanted a Barbie horse thing. I don't know, some riding Barbie thing. She sat there all day playing it, so hey, it was worth the money. That's where I got the White Knight Chronicles. But anyway, guys, let me know. Yeah, tell me your stories, Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.